told my wife F35 that she couldn't do it without me. I'm 34. Turns out she can. I made one stupid selfish comment to my wife a week or so ago and now my life is in disarray. My wife is in some crisis. Her work is closed and she's being paid, but she's home with our kids now, including one 3-year-old. She gets breaks on Monday and Friday with childcare. We went into having kids knowing she wanted to be a working mother. So this has been an adjustment, to say the least. On to the OG fight. She spent a long day with our kids and the neighboring kids, and when I came upstairs from work and she asked for a break, I didn't respond well. I made excuses and didn't offer help, and for the first time in years my wife lost her temper and cursed at me. Like an idiot I dug in and thought I was right. I admit we both said some unkind things, but after it humbled me and she made me sit down and write a list of things I did for the family that day and compared it with her. Longer list. I apologized. She accepted and I figured things would go back to normal. They haven't. My wife used to include me in parenting our kids. I did dance pickup most weeks and bedtime was split. I gave baths. Made dinner. All the stuff. Since our fight, my wife hasn't asked me for any help with the kids. The first morning I woke up on what was supposed to be my morning with the kids, I figured she was just being nice or trying to prove a point, but it keeps happening. She didn't even send them down to say good night last night. Normally my wife does this silly game where she sends my son to ask me to read 5 books and then we would negotiate down to 1 or 2 and race upstairs. Last night I heard her racing him and came up to find her doing bedtime yet again. The kids haven't even noticed. It's like she's replacing me. When we were fighting I said something really dumb that's living inside me and festering. My wife was being nasty and said you wouldn't see the kids a quarter as much as you do if I didn't arrange it and I'm done managing you. I defended myself. I'm not an absent parent and said something along the lines of I'd like to see how long you can manage without me. Consider my foot officially in my mouth. She's started running again. She's cooking really healthy and often. Every night I come home to my perfectly happy Stepford wife, doing it all without me and I feel empty inside. How do I fix this? I don't even know where to begin. At this point I want to beg her to go back to how things were. This wasn't what we agreed on. Edit. Fuck guys, I get it. I'm a piece of shit. I'm going to make this right. Edit 2. Thank you to the handful of people that reached out with advice. Believe it or not, I do want to be a good father and husband. I've royally ducked up and I see that and fully admit it. This is going to be my only edit and then I'm going to get off my phone for a while and focus my attention on my family. My wife had dinner cooked when I got home. Everything is fine between us so there wasn't any tension. After we cleaned up I went upstairs and ran my wife a bath, put Taylor Swift on her Alexa and lit a few candles. I told her to go relax upstairs for the night. She was surprised but smiled and went on her way. I'm currently on the toilet watching my kids take a bathe. People mentioned love bombing etc., but I'm just trying anything I can to show her I do appreciate and love her and our family and I want to be a present father. I'm going to do bedtime tonight and probably all next week. I'll tell her she does so much during the day and deserves the break because it's the truth. I get that I come off as an asshole. I grew up in a not great situation and didn't have the best role models growing up. I'm terrified of my children not having enough and I overcompensate by working too much. This new job came with a big pay increase but the hours are longer and I feel like I can never keep up. I've reached out to a few recruiters tonight. I used to love my job and was always home by 4:30. Even if it means taking the lost income, I'm thinking about going back. Relationships are hard. And humans aren't perfect. For all the people telling me my kids don't love me and I'm a waste of space, guys, just remember I'm an actual person. That shit's rough. Anyways, that's all I have for you folks. I need to watch these kiddos and start planning out my long road of groveling and reconnecting. Thanks all. Update 218. It's been a minute since I bothered with Reddit, but when I logged in it seems some people care for an update. It's not exciting. I've taken a lot of time to really look at the man I've become. My wife and I are 100% back to being a team, but I've realized I wasn't stepping up the way I always wanted to. I promised my wife a partnership and even though it's been a month or so since our fight and my wife keeps asking me to forget it happened, I can't. My therapist is helping me sort through my overthinking. My wife started therapy BC of the stress losing her work temporarily and staying home has caused. Her issues appear to stem from feeling useless without bringing in a paycheck and was taking on too many tasks at home to overcompensate. She doesn't feel like she deserves breaks and when she takes them she feels awful about herself and like she's lazy. Coming from the least lazy person I know, I can tell she's struggling. And I've been supporting her the best I can. I often make sure she knows I think she deserves breaks. So when I see her hyperfixating on cleaning the floorboards, I intervene gently by reminding her that this doesn't need doing right now, but that I will finish it for her while she does me a favor and takes a little break. Sometimes it works and other times she tells me to stop fussing and leave her to work, and I do. It's been working well and I don't mind the extra work for the peace of mind it offers me. My wife is my everything and her happiness is paramount. My kids are mostly clueless to all this. We don't involve them. And I must say, I made a throwaway comment about my wife not loving child rearing and received a lot of nasty comments about not having kids we don't want. I'm wary to dignify this with a response, but will say what I meant was that we agreed before having children that my wife would not be the sole support system for them and that she would never feel obligated to quit working. My wife is fiercely independent due to her past, and a big part of her comfort in our relationship comes from her ability to leave it safely if she ever needed to. That trauma is hers and I won't touch more on it other than to say I agreed to this aspect before we married and do not mind it. She should be an independent person. I'd want the same for my kids. So that's basically it. I've taken on the role as primary parent. I get my kids to daycare, school and home, and while my wife helps half the time, it's now my responsibility to see who is doing what and coordinate things. I can't do it all in my head like her, but I have a chart that's been helping. She rebelled at first but gave up the reins surprisingly easily. She needed a break. I also put my son back in full-time daycare, although my wife keeps bringing him early. I can tell she likes the break. That's all I have for now. Thanks guys, and sorry it's not more dramatic. I know some of you all wanted my balls and were hopeful my wife would leave me. While I would be lost without her and the thought makes me physically ill, it's nice to see people appreciating my wife the way she deserves and stand up for her so fiercely. Thanks all. One last thing, I bought her this game Palworld on the computer. She hasn't gamed since having kids. BC of some preconceived conclusion it made her a bad parent, but I insisted she spend a few hours, and since I'd spent money, she did. I find her playing a lot to wind down when the day is over. It seems to be helping her feel more herself too. So thanks. Video games. I'll stand for a lot of assumptions on my character, and boy have there been some nasty ones, but one thing I won't take is people saying I don't love my wife. She's my person and it is my duty in life to make her happy. Stop waiting for your wife to ask for help with your kids. If you're an active parent, you shouldn't need to be asked to help. It's a combined responsibility. Also, talk to your wife. She's rightly pissed because you're treating the kids as her responsibility that you help when asked. Be proactive. Stop taking her for granted. Find out what you need to do to make amends. You absolutely are an absent parent if the only time you do things is when she asks or when she actively includes you. It's not her job to tell you when and how to parent.